Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another classic episode of 18th Avenue Podcast. This is episode number 6. On this podcast, we will be doing things a little bit different. As you know, this is the number 6 podcast. And as a result, I've gotten messages from many of you saying that the podcast may be a little too long. I'm not mad. I am willing to compromise. So I've decided going forward, I will cut them up based on subject in little pieces, 10 minutes cuts here and there, and have that out for you. So if you don't want to watch the whole hour of the podcast, you will always have the option to listen to the 10 minutes cut. You will also have the option of watching the full podcast. All right. I'd like to thank you guys now for tuning in to 18th Avenue Podcast. Now, let's get on with the program. Coming up, and guys, there's a lot coming up. Number one, I must apologize because I am super late on many of these subject matters. But I felt it is so important and I am compelled to address them and honor them. Let's start with the passing of King, a legend, Kobe Bryant, alongside 8 other passengers. Next, the outcry to stop racism and bring about diversity from Prince William, Stephen King, and Joaquin Phoenix toward visible minority in the West and the British Film Awards, the Oscars as well. Coming up later on in the show, Eddie Murphy apologizes for jokes he made on Delirious and Raw. My question is, should he have apologized? Z and Beyoncé sat during the National Anthem. Here's the question. Were they wrong? Greta, whose last name I cannot say. I listened to this girl say her full name. It went right over my head. But here's a horrible attempt. Greta Thunberg, that's good enough, is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, and people are lifted. What are your thoughts? Later, the freak show of the week. A 36-year-old man was convicted on Tuesday for raping 4-year-old twins and giving them STD. What should happen to this person? Next, BC lifted a law preventing Africans and Asian descent from owning property or buying property in certain neighborhood in Vancouver. What is going on, Canada? I thought you were perfect. Following the outbreak of coronavirus and the impact it's having on the world today. Stay tuned. All of that and more. And of course, you don't want to miss it. My final thoughts. Without further ado, this is 18th Avenue Podcast. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, please make sure and subscribe. Don't be a ghost follower. Subscribe, like, share your thoughts. If you disagree with me, come on the show. Let's talk about it. You might know more about the subject than I do. I am the wisest of all men because I know that I know nothing. Okay? So, thank you for tuning in. Make sure to subscribe. Let's start the show. Tragic passing of King Kobe Bryant, the legend, not just in basketball, but just a human being, just an overall incredible man. Kobe Bryant and his daughter, 13-year-old daughter, Giana, alongside 7 other passengers, crashed and died in a horrific helicopter crash. The entire world is in shock. It's been a super tough time for everyone because you just never imagined that a guy so young, so vibrant, so ready to go, so much with so much fuel left in his tank, and so much to give to the world, and so much greatness to grace the world with, would die in such a horrible, horrible fashion. My condolences goes out to the family of all of the deceased. This horrible, horrible thing. Kobe Bryant was as famous in life as he is in death. Most time, like you're not as famous until you die. Not with Kobe. I think he owns both sides. He was a bigger than life character. And Kobe, man, you should have seen the tribute that Los Angeles Lakers put together for you. I mean, it's the most beautiful thing I've ever witnessed. Every major sport or even minor sport, everybody celebrate you. And I think that we will continue to celebrate you for life to come. To recap some of his legacy, just a little bit. I'm not an expert on Kobe Bryant. He won 5 championships, 15 All-Star Game appearances, 4 All-Star Games MVP awards, 2 NBA Finals MVP. Although a lot of people feel like Kobe Bryant should have indeed that they robbed him of 2 other awards. My sincere condolences to everybody. The whole world stopped. The whole world cried. From Shaq O'Neal, LeBron James, and his speech he gave, just super emotional, super incredible. I want to thank you for tuning in. Now, out of respect for Kobe Bryant, I would like us to take this next 24.2 seconds in complete silence to honor the dead. Favorite, thank you and welcome back. My final questions here. What are some of your favorite Kobe Bryant? What are some of the things that he inspired you to do? I know I grew up playing football, soccer, and watching Kobe Bryant, and just his work ethic, man. It just spoke volume, I think, to anyone. So, what are some of your favorite Kobe Bryant moments and some of his memories? Thank you. Please leave all that and more below. Thank you. We are moving on, people, to diversity, to a very taboo subject that nobody wants to talk about. But we have to talk about it. We are moving on to diversity and racism at the award show. And let me just start by saying I tilt my heart, my hat to these 3 mega superstars. You're my hero for risking it all and speaking on behalf of visible minority in the West. Thank you to Prince William, to Stephen King, to Joaquin Phoenix. I thank you. Well, let's get to it. Is racism and injustice only happening at the Academy Award? Are they only happening at the award show? What about the warehouse worker? What about the gas station worker? What about the black or visible minority construction worker? What about the school? Are they getting the benefit of the doubts? Why is racism and diversity still being brought up in this day and age? Is it not an old music by now? Are we not preaching to the choir? Was slavery not over some 400 years ago? Why is it that nobody listens? So frustrated. Why is it that nobody listens when a black person cry out racism and discrimination? But what a white person does, everybody heals and pay attention. Are we not intellectual enough to know what's good for us? Are we not all human? Do we not all feel love? Do we not all feel pain? I mean, do we not all feel pain the same place that love is felt? I quote, common sense. If you never listened to that track, you need to get it. But look, I am sincerely grateful that these 3 megastars have risked it all I know that Prince William is not in the film industry, so he doesn't have to worry about winning an Oscar. But I will say this to Mr. King and Mr. Phoenix. I hope that you gentlemen do not uh, plan on or looking forward to winning another Oscars. Because if there's one thing we've learned is that history have a funny way of repeating itself, even though we're supposed to be learning from it. So let's take a small chapter from the life of Marlon Brando, the actors who plays Michael Corleone father, whom is Al Pacino in real life, in The Godfather. Let's not forget that Marlon turned down, rejected the Oscars for the same reasons that these brave men are speaking up today. He felt like there was no diversity, there was no inclusiveness, the level of disrespect and a scapegoat for black people, for American Indians, and for those reasons, he turned down and rejected the Academy Awards. To say it all, what are you guys' thoughts? I think it's incredible what they've done. I read here a quote, but I am grateful for these three brave megastars. Let's start with Prince William. During his speech at the British Film Awards, I quote, "Not for the first time, we have found ourselves talking again about the need to do more to ensure diversity in the sector and award process." He will conclude by saying there's been an investigation launched to make sure that everybody get a fair chance. My next hero, Stephen King, who wrote on Twitter, "The Oscars are still rigged in favor of white people. Diversity make creative excellence richer, bolder, and more exciting. Too bad the Academy Awards still don't get that." To my third hero, Joaquin Phoenix, also doing his speech at the British Film Awards. I quote, he says the situations sends the message that colored people are not welcome. I want to congratulate all of these men from the bottom of my heart. Truly, from the bottom of my heart. I salute you. I love you. The world love you. We need more men like you. We need more people that can stand up for what's right. So thank you for everything. Moving on. Again, if you tune in to 18th Avenue Podcast, we'd like to welcome you back to another classic episode of 18th Avenue Podcast. As a quick reminder, we've been talking so far about the death of Kobe Bryant and his 13-year-old daughter, and also the 7 other passengers who passed away in a horrible, horrific, something you just don't see happening every day, in a helicopter crash. We've also been talking about race and discrimination, and just this month alone, Prince Williams, among Prince William, Stephen King, and Joaquin Phoenix. If you are unfamiliar with Joaquin Phoenix, he is the villain who played in the film Gladiator. Recently, he also played in The Joker. That is a crazy movie. When I first saw him, I didn't recognize him. I was like, who is this guy? I had to look twice. But he played a phenomenal character. Ironically, he was also fighting for injustice in the film, standing up for visible minority. Moving on to Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy apologized to a joke he made in Delirious and Raw. Should he have apologized? He apologized. I gotta tilt my hat to him. He's a bigger man than most people. My thing is this. I don't think he should have apologized. Now, before you jump on and go and attack me and whatnot, let me explain myself. if he said it into this climate, I can see why he needs to apologize, and not only that, but also lose his job. Back then, it was a different time. Black people were still being lynched openly in cities like Mississippi and elsewhere around the world. Minority group had no place in this world. But the one thing that brought us all together was laughter. It also told our stories. Everything was white. It was a white world that hated homosexuals and that hated niggas just the same. They still hate niggas. But laughter brought us one step closer to eradicating these grotesque ideas. If a black man today can walk down the street and not get violated, beat up by a cop, then he will have Rodney King to thank for that. He will also have comedy to thank for that. People like Richard Pryor, people like Eddie Murphy, people like George Carlin, because these were the individuals that were brave enough to bring these hideous things to our attention. Comedy made it possible for people who would have never given us the second chance or given our story the second chance, for the simple fact that they've been lied to and misled, and they can tell the difference between day and night. It gave them a chance to reconsider what black people was, what it would mean to be a homosexual. It gave them a chance. Through comedy, our story reached the people, and as the result, black man is walking free. It's not a perfect world, and I don't know if it's ever going to be a perfect world, but for the most part, we can move around and do something for ourselves. So the mere fact that Eddie Murphy should apologize for educating us and laughing with us and making us go. Back then it was different, man. Like, after a long day of frustration and hard work, you come home and you turn on Delirious and Raw and you just laugh. Your parents grew up on it. I think the fact that he is apologizing is the equivalent of erasing history. And we should never erase history. We should learn from it and be better. Some of you would disagree, some of you will agree. But I'm man enough to know your thoughts. Just keep it clean. Moving on. Moving on, moving on. Moving on up, moving on up. Jay-Z and Beyoncé sat during the Super Bowl National Anthem. Were they wrong? People are mad. People are super mad. They're so mad, they look sad. They're saying things like Jay-Z and Beyoncé should remember who made them. They should be thankful. Remember Colin Kaepernick kneel during the National Anthem, a move that ended his football career? Well, Jay-Z and Beyoncé are only following the blueprint of people that came before them. Rosa Parks, Dr. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. My thing is this. If our role model cannot stand up against injustice, then who will? We can't all go on a killing rampage, as white America often do when it comes to black people. Some would rather pick up arms to enforce fear and power. Jay-Z and Beyoncé protested with class. I salute them for it. I do, honestly. Now, to people that are saying like, yo, we made you who you are. This country made you who you are. You should never disrespect the national anthem. To those people, I say, you have never, ever faced injustice in your life. You've never had to fight for something. You never had to fight for the right to live, to breathe. Black people would never stop. I've come to terms with it. Black people would never stop partaking in the Super Bowl or in television or in any form of sports. We invented these sports. Without us, these sports, the television wouldn't be nothing. So yeah, you can kiss the Super Bowl goodbye. If it wasn't, black people would never stop taking part in the Super Bowl. We invented the sport. By that I'm saying, without black players, you can kiss the Super Bowl goodbye. We've made white America trillions of dollars. Black people would never stop watching Super Bowl. We invented the sport. By that I'm saying without black players in the Super Bowl, you can kiss the game goodbye. Again, I quote, Jada Kiss. And this is the motherfucking thanks we get. I quote, who? Ice Cube. Getting gunned down in the streets, having injustice done to us, being on the scapegoat for every crime. We are the face of darkness. But until there is injustice and fairness in treatment for all human, I'm all for intellectual rebellions. I'm all for intellectual protest. Spend your money, buy the ticket, go to the game, and sit during the national anthem. Bring a pillow. Take a nap during the national anthem. Let me ask you guys a question. If you had a message and something to stand for, where would you do it? Would you stay at home in your apartment and do it? Or would you go to the second largest event in the world after soccer, the Super Bowl, to make your piece heard? To all the critics, rather than being mad at Z and Beyoncé or advising them to stand up during the national anthem, you should ask and demand that the national anthem treat all people with fairness and equality. That's my thoughts. Some of you would disagree because I don't know what world you're living in. I live in a very black and white world. I have come to terms with this. If you are going to talk about black and white issues, there is just no gray area. You can't beat around the bush. You just got to say what it is. What are your thoughts? I would like to know. Moving on to Greta, whom last name I cannot pronounce, but I'm going to give it a try. I listened to her through an interview say her name, and it just went right over my head. I didn't understand a word she said. Greta Thunberg is nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize Award, and people are lifted. Is it just me, or does it just feel like people are just getting mad over everything these days? To their best effort and to their criticism, people are lifted, saying that she doesn't deserve it. Now, I agree with some of the opinions. I mean, she's only been like a climate activist now for about, what, 2 weeks? We have people like Leo DiCaprio and many more who have been fighting this climate change for a very, very long time, or for as long as I can remember. But to you people that are criticizing her and saying that she doesn't deserve it, you didn't do shit. You didn't lift a finger to try and help. Climate change was around before she ever came around. You didn't try to help. You didn't get involved. And the mere fact that you have an opinion now because an organization is going to recognize her for her bravery and her effort, you taking issue with this? This reminds me of the situation where the election is happening. Your punk ass don't get out there to vote. Instead, you spend your time Netflix and chilling and eating cheese. And then you get mad when the government in power doesn't do anything that benefits you. This is what it sounds like to me. Here's my thing. Shut the hell up. With that said, I know that climate change is extremely important. It is real. And our climate, our world is being destroyed by powerful corporations. It is not the poor people that are destroying our world, because the poor people don't have the means. It is powerful men and women, corporations that are destroying our world. Now, I don't know what giving a Nobel Peace Prize to Greta for her effort to make a change is going to do. I don't know if that's going to eradicate the problem. But maybe what it's going to do is send the message out there that no matter what age you are, you can fight for something. Fight for a cause that you believe in that matters to people. And hopefully one day you'll get recognized. And I'm sure there are more qualified people out there who's been fighting them. Whoever's making the decision knows this, right? Anyway, you all are not going to agree with my thoughts on these issues. I get it because they're controversial. This is not the matter of do you like candy or do you not like candy, right? It's not an ice cream question. It's not do you like me, yes or no. They're controversial, they're taboo in nature. But yeah, I would like to know your opinion on it. Where do you stand? As for me, if the Nobel Peace Prize decide to give it to Greta, farewell. You didn't do anything. I didn't do anything. White power, I say. Moving on to our freak show of the week. This is the part, the freak show, where the freak come out at night. But this ain't the type of freak you want around you. Our freak show of the week, a 36-year-old man who raped 4-year-old twins, his then ex-girlfriend daughters, and this man gave them STD. This case first surfaced back in 2018. The man was just now convicted on Tuesday, just recently, Tuesday 2020. These poor girls' life will never be the same. Never, ever be the same. I just hope that they get all the right psychological evaluations and treatment when they become of age and start to learn about the history. This guy is a sick piece of shit. Like, it's sick from his eyes, his nose, his face. It just ring, I'm a sick piece of shit. Put him away. Lock him up. And let the good boys run a train on him. I hope they run a train on him for breakfast. I hope they run a train on him for lunch. I hope they run a train on him for snacks. I hope they run a train on him. Look, if you know how you breathe, how many times a day the person breathe, inhale, run a train on him. Every time you breathe air, run a train on him. Because this man deserved the absolute worst that he can possibly get. The absolute worst, without a doubt in my mind, he deserves it. He's a menace to society who deserves to be put away. Now, I don't know if prison is enough justice, but I'm against killing people. So lock him up. Let the good boys and girls run a train on him. You know what I mean? Fuck him. He can drink poison for all I care. What do you guys think about this guy? What should happen to him? What are your thoughts? Leave that in the comment below. Moving on. BC recently lifted a law, as in the last week or two, that a law that prevented African and Asian descent from buying property in certain neighborhoods. BC recently lifted the law. Canada, you truly surprise me sometime. But you know what? I don't want to be surprised anymore. Anything goes from now on. What year is it? You know, this law has been around since the 1920s. Since the 1920s. And Canada said, running around, we are not racist. Everything is good. We sing kumbaya. We love everybody. Why does this law stay around? Recently, I think BC is a problem. BC has been in the news so much recently for all kinds of nonsense that we're going to be getting into later on. All the dirty laundry is coming out. How would you still have a law like this in today's environment, in today's climate, preventing people? You know the worst of this? BC, listen. Get off the racist pill. And the worst of this is that every child who grew up in that community, grew up under that roof, feel privileged. That they are in a better community that no minority group can go to. Another word, qualified doctors, people that have worked hard their whole life to be where they are, lawyers, engineers, whatever, mechanics, were refused the right to buy property in this area. And every kid growing up in this area think that they are better than everyone else because nobody can live here. I got news flash, buddy. You ain't better. Your great-great-great-grandparents, your great-grandparents, your grandparents, your parents' parents are just nothing but a bunch of racist shitheads. That's it. A law like this should not be around. It should never, ever be around. Moving on. If you're just tuning in to 18th Avenue Podcast, listen, I'd like to welcome to another episode of 18th Avenue Podcast. This is episode 6. And today, so far, we discussed the life of Kobe Bryant, the tragic death of Kobe Bryant, daughter Giana, and all of the 7 other members that passed away, the tribute that the Lakers, Los Angeles, the outpour from the rest of the world, just appreciating this man and what he did for the court, how he left everything out on the court. And also, we talk about Eddie Murphy, the fact that he had to apologize for a joke that he made on Delirious and Raw, a comedy. Should he have apologized? I don't think he should have. It was a different time, a different place. If he did that today, I think he should lose his job. That is my honest opinion. Also, we're talking diversity and discrimination within the film industry. We have Prince William come up and speak against it. Stephen King came up and speak against it. Joaquin Phoenix came up and speak against it. All this month, between January and now, these men are my hero. We salute you. Then we also cover Z and Beyoncé not standing up doing the national anthem. Should they have stood up doing the national anthem? Would you stand up? Would you stand up if your peers are being mistreated, your race are being mistreated, your people are being killed? I think it was a smart protest, a calm protest, a classic protest like Jay-Z and Beyonce would. And people need to stop attacking his daughter. We also covered the freak show of the week, a 36-year-old man who raped 4-year-old twins that belonged to his then ex-girlfriend and gave them STD. I think that guy should rot in hell. So, the outbreak of the coronavirus is such a tragedy. You know, every time something like this happen, an outbreak happen, whatever, you wonder if this is the end. You wonder if that's it, we're done now. I wonder that. Do you wonder that? And like again, these news are late. I'm going to try my best to do what I can to be more current. So far with the coronavirus, man, there's been 196 dead. By the time you get this, there will probably be more casualties. About 6,000 known cases around the world. Over 16 countries have been affected by it. This is devastating for everyone involved. People are terrified and scared. Like I said, every time there's an outbreak like this, you wonder if we are on our last leg. Look, my sincere condolences, and I pray for all the families involved. Asia will survive this. The rest of the world will survive this and come out stronger than ever. I just want to say that. And now to my final thoughts. In closing, there is so much going on in this world. It's scary. And thanks to the internet, things are coming at us faster than we have time to digest them, to breathe. But I will say this. We cannot continue to divide each other. We have to come together at some point. It is our responsibility to remind ourselves that we are all humans and we must all be treated as such. Despite our financial statuses, our race. Rest in paradise, King Kobe Bryant. 13-year-old daughter Giana. The 7 other passengers who passed away alongside that tragic crash. My condolences to all of your family. Wife Vanessa, parents. Look, thank you guys so much for tuning in again to yet another classic episode of 18th Avenue Podcast, where we cover social issues. We will be discussing photography and films. We will be discussing just the things that I'm passionate about. This is the reason why I started this podcast. If you want to know who I am, I've discussed this already. I come from a war-torn country. So for me, the way I perceive the world is a little bit different than somebody who grew up in a place where they just had everything handed to them. I never had anything handed to me. I had to work hard for everything that I have, you know, and I'm not ashamed to share these stories with you guys. And I am also not ashamed. The reason I'm doing it is to empower other people to know that they can go on and do something and change the world. If I had a magic wand, I would use my magic wand to change the world. Unfortunately, I was not born with a magic wand. I wasn't born with a silver spoon. It wasn't like that. My parents apparently had something. But by the time I was born, and before I was know it, I was displayed in the streets, looking for food, begging for food. And so for me, social issue become extremely important. It does not mean to come on here and talk about black issues. Irregardless, if you see that I'm talking about black issues and this is bothering you and you have something to say, look, this is an open platform, let me know, I'll bring you on, we can talk about it. I am man enough. As I said, I am the smartest of all men because I know that I know nothing. So if you want to discuss these things and you have opposite experience, I would like to know, I would like to learn from you. The idea of this podcast is to make the world a better place, to bring the world closer together, not to separate and divide. So if you do leave comment, be respectful of everybody, be considerate. This is not where we do that. Sometime I will be doing product reviews. I just haven't done any yet. Podcasting is extremely crazy. It's a lot of work. I'm learning that now, and I'm willing to put in the work. I'd like to thank you guys for rocking with me. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Make sure to share and like. Make sure to comment, tell a friend to tell a friend who tell a friend. Come on, man. By the way, I love hip-hop music. I love you guys. You are all beautiful. Peace and love. See you next week. 18th Avenue Podcast. I am your host, Rico Bottom.